Good YouTube, it's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So I just heard a disturbing interview that was held, and one reporter was asking a former heavyweight title contender in Chris Arreola, was asking Chris Arreola about what just took place with undefeated, newly crowned, undisputed lightweight world champion, superstar boxer Devin "The Dream" Haney, who is now 28 wins, no loss and no draw, 15 wins by way of knockout, 23 years of age, 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. Devin Haney has become the first four major belt lightweight world champion in the history of the sport of boxing. He's the first undisputed lightweight four-belt major sanction belt holder in the history of the sport of boxing. I can't say it enough. History was being made after he defeated former unified lightweight world champion, Australian star boxer George Kambosos Jr. by pitching a complete shutout, dominating the fight. George Kambosos is now 20 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 10 wins by way of knockout. He is 28 years of age, 5'9" with a 68-inch arm reach. Devin Haney, what he did, he went over to Australia and took the belts from George Kambosos Jr. Nothing short of spectacular. In this particular interview, he was asked about, this being Chris Arreola, about how former two-division world champion, superstar boxer turned colorful boxing analyst and pundit for ESPN and Top Rank Boxing, Timothy Bradley, was raving about Devin Haney and the way Devin Haney was dismantling George Kambosos Jr., disarmed him, you know, in a one-sided dominating fashion. And because Timothy Bradley was raving about Devin Haney's performance, the reporter's asking Chris Arreola, what do you think about Timothy Bradley overstating and saying that he's dominating and destroying George Kambosos Jr.? And so Timothy Bradley was raving about it, right? Because it was a dominating performance. He completely dismantled George Kambosos Jr. And so Chris Arreola, he responds by saying, Timothy Bradley is essentially a company guy, and that Timothy Bradley always goes extra hard for guys that has the same complexion he does, that looks like him, and definitely for guys that work at Top Rank. And then when he says that, the reporter says, you think so? And he says, yeah, definitely on record for Top Rank. Well, that's disturbing. Because when you have Mexican reporters raving about Mexican fighters, that's not a problem. When Timothy Bradley raves about Oscar Valdez, when Oscar Valdez walked right through Miguel Bichel, I heard nobody complaining. Now, yeah, Oscar Valdez, he did drop Miguel Bichel a few times and then ultimately brutally knocked him out. So I can understand the excitement in that. But it's just as much excitement when you see a guy completely dismantle another boxer with a jab. There's excitement in that, right? There's a lot to be excited about, because he went to a foreign country, overseas, half his team couldn't even make it, the odds were stacked against him, his dad wasn't even, his father, trainer, manager, and CEO of DHP, Devin Haney Promotions, Bill Haney, his father, initially wasn't allowed until the final hour, until the 11th hour. Bill Haney caught the very last flight to make it to Australia for the fight. If he would have missed that flight, he wouldn't have made it for the fight. Because they informed him that he was approved for a visa at the final hour. That saw him have to scramble to get to his son. Devin Haney had the deck stacked against him. In pitching the shutout, he won every single round, and yet the judges still found a way to give 4 to 5 rounds to George Kambosos Jr. So imagine if it was actually close, what the outcome would have been. So yeah, Timothy Bradley had a right to rave about Devin Haney and Devin Haney's performance for more things than one. But he wasn't raving about Devin Haney because of Devin Haney's reflection of himself. That's not why he was raving about Devin Haney. It's not the first time Timothy Bradley has raved about any boxer, any fighter. But what he saw, he understood just how difficult it was to do what Devin Haney was doing and made it look easy. It's ironic because I like Chris Arreola. But it's ironic because Deontay Wilder, he stopped Chris Arreola with a jab. Just like Devin Haney completely dominated George Kambosos Jr. with a jab, controlled the range, controlled the pace of the fight, dominated the fight with a jab. Deontay Wilder, he stopped Chris Arreola with a jab. So Timothy Bradley's excitement, Timothy Bradley's raving had nothing to do with the fact that Devin Haney looks like Timothy or resembles Timothy Bradley. See, this is where I get confused in the sport of boxing. Because when it's a Mexican reporter raving about another Mexican fighter, I never heard any complaints about it. Not one single complaint. Okay? When you hear the reporters gushing over 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer who is currently the undisputed super middleweight, and the fans, and Timothy Bradley won. When Canelo Alvarez is winning and dominating the fight, Timothy Bradley, he raves about that. Right? So when the reporters are gushing about Canelo Alvarez's performance, why don't we hear the same thing? Why don't you hear the same complaints? Why aren't we hearing reporters say that, hey man, why is this reporter saying that, you know, Devin Haney is dominating this fight and destroying Kambosos? To destroy Kambosos, you got to knock him down. You got to knock him out. Huh? No, you could dominate a fighter without knocking him down and knocking him out. It's actually worse when you just completely dominate a fighter in the manner that Devin Haney dominated George Kambosos, because when you go home and look in the mirror, you got to say to yourself, man, this guy was just better than me. He didn't catch me with a punch that I didn't see. You know, anybody could get clipped with a punch they don't see. That wasn't the case. He didn't catch me with a punch I didn't see. He just completely dismantled me and dominated me. He's just simply the better fighter. No luck involved. No things happen involved. What I mean by things happen, you know, people say, hey man, this guy got clipped and knocked out, man. Well, that happens in the sport of boxing. Things happen in the sport of boxing. Excuse me. That's not what happened here at all. Not in the least bit. That's not what took place. What took place was a one-sided dominance from a guy that's 23 years old that went all the way over to Australia, the Down Under, without his team, with the concern of his father not even being able to make it. And yet, this is a guy who, George Kambosos, he dropped Teofimo Lopez, shocked the world, dropped Teofimo Lopez, dominated the fight. He got dropped, he faced adversity, got up, and still, you know, weathered the storm and got the victory. You're supposed to rave about that. So it's concerning to me, and it's disappointing to hear Chris Arreola say that Timothy Bradley was raving about Devin Haney because Devin Haney's skin color resembles his. That's disheartening. That's disappointing to hear Chris Arreola, who's a very nice guy, say such a thing. It's very disappointing. And yes, everybody should be raving about Devin Haney's accomplishment and his dominance and what he achieved. Everybody. Period. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Roll. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.